Welcome everyone to this second in the second series of ILX virtual web access. So these have been set up just to support you based around everything that's happening at the moment. Now this one is long-term strategies for leading virtual teams, and the reason we decided to do this is because in the first series of 4 that we did for you about a month or so ago now, this was one of the most popular. So we did a how to manage teams that are working virtually. This now goes beyond that particular WebEx session. We're not going to be covering the same points. We're now looking at long-term strategies. And for me, this is all about how to keep the working team element in the virtual working team. My name is Nick. A number of you know me already. I can see a number of people that have been on multiple sessions with us, which is always lovely. So you should be used to the next slide that's coming up as well, which is our very quick how we like to interact on these virtual sessions. So first of all, when you were joined muted. And the reason for that is with having 81 people and growing attending, the background noise, if we don't mute, does get pretty bad. However, if you have a particular request, you can unmute and ask a question at any time. And again, for those of you who've done sessions with me, you know I love to be interrupted and I love being asked questions. So with that in mind, please feel free to ask a question at any time. Probably the best way to do this is to put your question in the question box. And by the way, I keep my question box live as we go through all the time, so I can see the questions pop up. Any e-certificate provided or not? No, we did look at this for the virtual sessions, and realistically, we can't do it without affecting the credibility of the certification process, which is a bit of a shame, but that is the reality. The certification process is really valuable for us. So I'm afraid you won't get a e-certificate for attending this session. This session is just to help you, but good question and always useful to ask these kind of things. So ask anything at any time. What we'll also do is we have created a 2-page summary handout and also 2 video links that will go out to you if you're registered for this session on Friday. So the summary is just to help you. However, we do encourage you take notes as you go through as well. It's a really good, healthy thing to do. And just to remind you, if you see something on the screen that you think, oh, I really want to capture that, you can do it if you are using a normal laptop or PC with a standardized keyboard, simply by pressing Control, Print Screen. That will take a snapshot of your screen. You can then paste that into any normal Word document, Google document, PowerPoint slide deck, or anything like that. So it's a nice little way just to do a quick snapshot of whatever is on the screen as we go through. Okay, you guys probably know this by now. You're probably used to doing virtual sessions. So let's move on and have a quick look at the agenda and the 4 key elements that we're going to be browsing through together today. So the first thing we're going to do is one that will follow on from our previous session for emerging challenges for L&D and HR leaders, and it's all about purpose. It's about how to give clarity by making a clear vision, mission, and it's not mentioned on this point, but brand as well for an individual or a team, and how that linked together with purpose can really improve. It says here engagement and productivity, but it improves everything. It improves performance, resilience, productivity, outputs. It's an absolutely wonderful and easy technique for managing a virtual team over a long period of time, especially if you can't be there to hold their hand at all times. This is something that can keep them going as they go through some of the more tricky elements of doing their job without someone standing beside them. And we're going to explore that at length. And it's a theme I'm going to keep coming back to as we look at the other elements as well. Oh, my apologies. Sorry, guys. I just flipped right to the end of the slide deck. I'm just going to run back to the start again. Here we go. Accidentally did that with over enthusiasm on my keyboard. Sorry about that. Fizzer, so what we'll do is we will put this up on YouTube. So you can have a look at it on Friday on YouTube. And we've also created a 2-page summary for you as well. The next thing that we're going to look at is enabling knowledge sharing and a sense of team. So these are things that can really suffer when teams operate, say, on a 50% in the office, 50% working from home, or as we see, increased working from home, or 100% virtual working. So we're going to look at how you can enhance knowledge share and protect that sense of team over a long period of time. Again, this isn't just the short term. Now we're looking at, say, over a 12-month, 18-month, or new way of working type period of time. This will then link us into career development. It is a wonderful discussion to have. And again, it can give a lot of clarity. It can link with purpose and vision, and it can really boost an individual's engagement and their sense of motivation and therefore productivity over prolonged periods where they may not be seeing other people or have the opportunity to be next to you as you hold their hands in a daily work basis. And the final element we'll look at here is a very difficult element of how do I balance my desire as a manager to see everything that everyone is doing and control it all with, of course, my desire to give them full autonomy. And I'm going to show you a very simple tool we can use to assess that balance. You can use it with your staff, not just on them. So it's a two-way conversation. We'll give you some quick tips around that and a really nice tool that's also included in our double-sided handout as well as a summary point. So you can think, okay, given these elements that I can see on this tool, I know I need to give my staff member this amount of freedom. And it's really nice and clear. Now, everything we do today, we're going to look at from two particular perspectives or angles. One is the idea of you as a manager or a leader, so directly managing your staff. The other is if you need to support other managers and leaders. There's a number of situations where that may be relevant for you. If you are in HR or learning and development, that's definitely going to be relevant for you. You may be supporting your own teams, but you will have to give guidance and support to other managers and leaders. And of course, if you are reasonably senior in your organization, the chances are within your team are other supervisors, managers, and leaders. So we're going to keep looking at this from both perspectives. Although you'll see as we go through that actually there isn't too much difference between those two. We still take the same general approaches. Okay, so that's our overview. We're about to launch into our first element, which is the clarity piece. It's all about vision, mission, brand, and purpose. Before we do, just another reminder, ask a question at any time. I will always try and answer those questions. And if there's a question on your mind, and there's 109 people on this WebEx right now, if there is a question on your mind, the chances are it's on at least 10 other people's minds on this WebEx. So ask the question and you will help them as well. Okay, let's move on and deal with our first big element, which is all about this idea of clarity. We want to be able to use vision, mission, and purpose to increase people's motivation, their engagement, and give them clear direction on what they're doing. And the first thing I do is pick up on two slides that I used in our last ILX virtual session, was about emerging challenges for L&D and HR leaders. And the first one was 3 big questions that staff are asking. Now, the first two there is my organization fair and inclusive? Am I valued? Do I have a future? They're what we call open or conscious questions. People are actively asking these. They are actively discussing these. The one that I've highlighted in red for you on the screen there is often an unconscious question, but it is a really powerful one, particularly when we look at some of the newer generations of work as well. So the under 35s, under 40s, this is a really important question. Does my work have purpose? Does my team have purpose? Does my company have purpose? If the answer is yes, you could really engage people. If the answer is no, we may have problems. Second slide as well that I want to share with you was our closing slide on the last session, or part of it, where we said, look, if there's one thing, one practical takeaway that everyone in L&D and HR should be doing, it's go and help and make sure that every team, in fact, every individual in every team in the organization has a clear idea of mission, and vision. And the reason is it really, really drives performance. In fact, it might be said that when we look at what really unifies a team, it is a common goal. And even deeper than that, it is the common purpose linked to a common goal. Now, hopefully that common goal is a good thing. Hopefully it's something positive, such as to achieve X, to set up this project, to help this many clients or patients or whoever your stakeholder group is. But actually, even this, the science shows us that even if it is a negative goal, such as to survive something, that can really, really unite a team. If any of you have been unfortunate enough to work for a really, really bad leader, you'll know that actually it can create really strong camaraderie in a team as you all unite against the aggressive idiot or something like that. So the science shows us nothing really unites a team more than a common purpose. That's why this stuff is so important. So let's have a little bit of a breakdown. I'm going to give you some more direction and insights into what really a mission is, a vision is, a brand, and how that all links in with purpose. And I'm going to do this because although I'm sure many of you will think you have a good idea of this, and perhaps many of you do, actually it's quite easy to get these elements confused. So hopefully this next slide will just give us a little bit of clarity. And this next slide is also one of the highlight points on our 2-page summary handout for you as well. So let's start with mission. This is the core function of the team. I often think about this as, okay, why does our company or organization pay us to exist? What is the function we are providing to the rest of the company or community or client group? Why do we exist? Here is a quick example. I could have picked so many different teams. I've chosen a procurement team. Could be an IT team, could be a compliance team, could be a customer service team. So the example here is our mission might be to ensure all procurement is done in a way that is cost effective, transparent, and reduces risk. It's not very exciting, but it is quite clear. And it can be really useful for a team or an individual working from home because it gives them a constant benchmark. It gives them something to constantly compare against and ask, is what I'm doing at the moment supporting that mission? Is it in line with that mission? Now, a mission is incredibly important, but it isn't as exciting as a vision. The vision is the aspiration. It's okay, let's think about in 2 years' time, what do we want to have achieved? If we are able to do our mission well enough, what might that mean? So if we carry on with the procurement example, here is how this might translate into a vision statement. The example I've got here is to create the best procurement service in the industry. So our mission is to make sure that it's all done in a cost-effective, transparent, and risk-reduced way. But our vision is to create the very best procurement system in the industry or service or something like that. And that kind of aspirational vision can translate across any team in any industry, as long as you have a clear idea of your mission. Okay, I'm going to ask everyone a quick question. Please feel free to put your answers in the question box. This is not a test, but I'm going to ask you a couple of questions as we go through this WebEx. Who do you think is the best person to set the vision? Best person or people? Get some answers in the question box for me, if you would. Again, it's not a test. It's not an exam. I'm just curious. Lovely. I'm deliberately not going to comment. I can see some answers coming in. I'm deliberately not going to comment yet because I want some answers to come in. Excellent stuff. So immediately we kind of got a split group there, haven't we? Got the senior leadership team and leaders or the team members. So all of you saying team members, and Fizzer, you were the first. Absolutely. What normally happens is a vision is assigned by the senior leaders in a company. But the most powerful visions are facilitated by the senior members and actually generated by the team, because then the team buys into it in the most. Now, if you are a senior leader in a company and you're thinking, yes, but Nick, what if they don't come up with the vision I like? Then all I can say is over the last 20 years, I have done a visioning exercise so many times. I mean, literally hundreds of times, possibly over 1,000. I don't know because I haven't counted, but doing some quick maths on how many days team development training I've delivered over 2 decades, it's going to be way up there. And I can tell you that in all of those times, the vision has always been something that pleased the senior leaders. Because people come up with aspirational comments such as, we want to be the best, we want to help our clients the most, we want to contribute towards this. So never be afraid of letting your team have a go at creating the vision themselves. It's a beautiful thing to do. Now, if you're getting them to create the vision, you can also get them to create the team brand. So this is how we want to be seen by others. In our senior leadership programs, we focus a lot on what we call leadership brand. No leader is identical to any other leader. Everyone is different, and everyone needs their own authentic brand. And exactly the same philosophy and principles can be applied to a team and even an individual within a team. And within a brand, often we start to come up with what we can often term as some marketing statements or brand statements. Here is an example for a procurement team. So, i.e., here is how we want to be seen by other people within our organization. We don't want to be seen as people who just create red tape. We don't want to be seen as people who slow things down. We want to be seen as the people who make buying easy and safe. Now, this works in collaboration with the vision statement and the mission to give a team a constant guidance on what they should be doing, how they should be treating their stakeholders, and also, let's say they are working from home and not interacting with other members of the team for long enough, it gives them guidance. It gives them like a beacon of light shining through the dark, where if you are not there to give them instruction, they start to get a clear idea of what they should be doing and why. And that's why we're covering it on this long-term strategies for running virtual teams, because one of the easiest ways to reduce your workload as a manager is to make sure your team has a clear mission, vision, brand, and the final element, the element of purpose. Purpose is the why. It's the why do we want to achieve that vision? Why do we want to be seen like that? For any of you who've seen any of the Simon Sinek Start With Why books or videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. Purpose is the why. If you haven't, by the way, one of the video links that we will send out on Friday for you after the session is a 5-minute adapted version of Start With Why. I highly recommend. And if you can't wait till then, after this session, maybe just go to YouTube and type in Start With Why, and you will see a TED Talk that's been viewed by millions. And the reason is because it's really good. It's really simple, and it says that we need to think about our why. Why is it that we are doing this particular task? Now, it's worthwhile always remembering this purpose piece is very individual for each human being. We can have a general shared vision, such as to create the best procurement service in the industry, but actually everyone in the team will adapt very slightly differently to that. In our first session that we did on the emergency how to run a virtual team, we looked at a particular system that explored how everyone is different and therefore they need speaking to in different ways and different levels of contact. I can see one person's just lost sound, so hopefully the rest of you are okay. There doesn't seem to be sound issues my side. I'm going to carry on. If anyone else has lost sound, just shout out and Rachel might jump in to pause me. That's absolutely fine. So we saw in this particular model that we can think of people as perhaps being friend styles, expert styles, socialite styles, challenger styles, and actually they need different levels of contact, and they might translate this vision into different things that are important to them because each person has a different value system. Let's think about the really, really lovely, friendly, kind, supportive person in your team. Why do they want to create the best procurement service in the industry? Well, probably because it would really, really help people. And that's going to be a wonderful, wonderful thing. Now, the people we might class as experts, actually, it's about testing my intelligence to see whether I can create a system that is perfect. So now this is about an intelligence test and feelings of capability. Now, there isn't a wrong or right here. Everyone is different, and that's okay. The socialite is going to have a different take on this as well. For the socialite, it's all going to be, well, come on, guys, if we do this, we're going to be part of an award-winning team. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have so much fun. That doesn't mean to say they don't want to help people. That doesn't mean to say they don't want to test their intelligence, but they may have different primary motivators and value system triggers going on here. The final element for me, the challenger one, is why do I want to create the best procurement service in the industry? To see if I can, just to be the best. And that's the element that fits most comfortably with the challenger. Now, of course, what I've done here is I've just put up 4 boxes. And human beings do not fit into a singular box. Actually, generally, we are a spread across here. So in reality, what we might find is someone really wants to create the best procurement service in the industry to test their intelligence, but also just to see if they can, and also to help people. They're not particularly worried about the awards. They're not particularly worried about the plaudits that might come from this. It's about, am I smart enough to do this? Can I do this? Because if I can, it would really help people. Everyone is different, but when you can help them realize their purpose, and by the way, one of the ways we do this is just to say, why do you want to do this? What will be the benefit to you? You start to really move people. And that brings me to another slide that I used in the last session we did. It's a nice little GIF that I found and repurposed. I'll let you read what's on screen. Because my goodness, people, it really, really does. So, one really big takeaway, hopefully, for you from this session so far. Make sure your team has a clear mission, vision, and ideally brand, how they want to be seen by everyone else, and ideally dig down and link that to a purpose. Why do they want to achieve that vision? What will they personally get out of it? And that means when they're working by themselves, they're going to feel much more comfortable about the direction they're going in and much more motivated. This boosts resilience, it boosts productivity, it boosts everything along our spectrum of results. Okay, I'm going to move on to our next piece. Again, feel free to ask questions as we go along. Joe, I'm pleased that you managed to join us back on a mobile device. That's all good. Ask any question you want to as we move on, and let's have a look at how we can encourage knowledge sharing and the sense of team, because this is another thing that can really suffer over the long term of people working virtually. And yeah, it's a problem. We go from having these water cooler moments, having lots of interactions with the team, having lunch with people where lots of lovely innovation happens. Then all of a sudden it's, okay, where did my contacts go? I know I can do a virtual meeting with people and I can get on the phone to them, but actually meanwhile, I'm still stuck in my front room, my office, my bedroom, or the office that only has 1/3 of its staff in. And that really can have a deep negative effect on so many different elements, most notably perhaps this idea of innovation and knowledge sharing. So this is another time when I'm going to start asking you to use the chat box. If you can't, it's okay, because this isn't a test, it's not an exam. I love how interactive you guys are being, by the way. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It is nice. A lot of the time when it comes to how to protect knowledge sharing and sense of team, I have some good news for you. Your team probably already has the answers. So on this slide, I have 4 really nice top tips, 4 practical answers for you on how you can protect knowledge share and sense of team. But I just want to show you very quickly what happens when you ask. So we now have 115 people on this WebEx. What I would like you to do, please, is if you can, put in one suggestion in the chat box on how you might protect the sharing of ideas within a team. So how you might protect or encourage the sharing of ideas within a team when, say, half the people are working virtually. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for starting us off, Russell. That's absolutely excellent. I'm going to read some of these out, probably not all of them. I probably won't be able to. All ideas are good until proven otherwise. Regular team meetings. Ask them regularly. Lunch and learns. Yeah, lovely. Microsoft Teams where I remain visible and stay connected. Collaborative online space for discussion. Daily calls. Ask questions. Team hangouts. Regular sessions with the team. Newsletters. Brilliant. Breakfast meetings. One of my favorites. Put pancakes and bacon and a cup of coffee next to something and you get minds going. Sorry if you're vegan. Regular idea box dropping. So immediately, you guys are coming up with many, many answers. Weekly mini lesson learn calls. Yeah, a lovely one, particularly if you're in a project team. Really good for that. Conduct one-to-ones and then bring the ideas together as a team. So the first answer I'm going to give you in all of this is you don't have to do this yourself. You can pose the question to your team and the chances are they will generate the right solution for them because every team is different. Some teams love doing a breakfast meet. I love doing things like that. Some teams really like doing a games evening informally with alcohol, and that's where they accidentally start talking about what's been happening at work and come up with those innovation points. For some, it's about gathering those ideas in and then replaying them out with a newsletter. There isn't a perfect answer other than the answer your teams choose. And once again, our studies have shown that actually if your teams come up with a solution, they are more likely to engage with that solution as well. So here's the first big answer. Go ask your teams. They've probably already got the answer for you. Having said that, you'd probably be a bit frustrated if all I did on this WebEx was ask you what you thought. So here are some really nice practical things that may work for you. Our first one, thank you, Vicky. We have time to chat meeting for general chit chat so that the team meetings are then more focused. Excellent. And also, by the way, Vicky, a lot of anecdotal points are coming up saying that when you have that informal chat, actually, a lot of the time you end up talking about some work stuff and having that brilliant idea as well. So we really encourage that, Vicky. It's very, very good as well. So here's the first one. Schedule formal time for intra-team presentations and briefings, i.e. within the team. Intra means within the team. Maybe once a week, if you've got a team of 7 people, get one person to do a 10-minute presentation on their biggest learn from the week or their specialist area or the challenge they're focusing or whatever you feel is relevant or the new technology that they think can shape the next few projects or whatever it may be. So creating this as a habit does 2 things. First of all, you get the formal time where you are sharing knowledge. The second thing is you get on everyone's radar the idea that it's important to share knowledge. Now, if you walked into Google or Microsoft or any of the other thought leader companies, you may find that you walk past a room with some interesting color schemes and it might have something like innovation room or imagination room or ideas room. A lot of critiques have said that, well, this is silly. You don't suddenly have a good idea because you walk into a room. How ridiculous. Google knows that. And Google will openly say, yeah, we know that, but we also know that if people are walking past a room that has innovation room or idea lab written across it, or they're having a meeting in that room, they are constantly reminded how important ideas can be. So when you schedule formal time for any kind of knowledge sharing presentation or briefing, you're keeping this idea of the importance of sharing knowledge alive in the team. And it then also has a lovely impact on sense of team as well, because when we find out what other people are working on or what their challenges are, it really boosts that sense of team as well. Our second tip for you, use the tech. So when I asked you what you've been doing, a number of you said using MS Teams and things like that. Technology has come on leaps and bounds over the last 18 months. And my goodness, it has been on steroids for the last 6 months, definitely. So either get some good technology that allows you to collaborate across your teams. And by the way, I don't just mean having a virtual meeting. I mean actually being able to share files and folders and project updates and things like that. Or more likely, learn to use the technology you've already got. For example, if you are using Office 365, you can already share folders and calendar points and project updates with probably everyone in your team. It's quite amazing how often the technology we already have can actually do the job, although a lot of the time we don't know how to use it. And by the way, I'm in that ballpark as well. It wasn't until COVID-19 happened that I realized just how much all of my technology could do around virtual sessions, virtual learning, and the huddle folders and things like that as well. So use the technology, embrace it. If you don't have it, get it. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. Some of it is very free. I put a couple of quick recommendations in brackets there: Huddle, Slack, Trello, Asana, Office 365, and G Suite. But the list goes on and on and on. Our next tool is all about how you ask a question. We call it reframing. So just changing the question you ask your teams can change the answers that pop up. Let me give you a quick example here. So on the left, you see, we might ask our team, okay, how can we increase knowledge sharing and innovation? It's the question I asked you. Lovely. You'll get some good answers back. But you could also change that to, how can we increase how we collaborate together as a team? It's going to change your answers. You can go even further with this as well. I love using in almost any question the following phrase: how can we use this as an opportunity to? So how could we use this as an opportunity to increase knowledge sharing and innovation? Suddenly we're going to get even more positivity there. How can we use this as an active opportunity to increase the collaboration together as a team? So how can we survive this is very different to how can we use this as an opportunity to improve. Practice reframing the question. There's a couple of clients that I've been doing a lot of work with on this, and we find when it comes to problem solving, reframing the question leads you to a completely different set of opportunities. How can we manage this? Reframe to, how do we turn this to our advantage? How can we deal with our poor IT? Change to, how can we use this as an opportunity to explore IT further? And again, you get two very different types of answers that come out there. Now, our last one, a quick tip here, is perhaps the happiest, I think, and one of the most positive it is as well. And I don't think it's happening enough. It's all about recognition. Celebrate and recognize team achievements, even the little ones sometimes. It is a lovely way to keep the sense of team going. It's a lovely way just generally to boost morale, engagement, and all those other lovely associated things such as productivity and work outputs as well. Celebrate and give recognition. If you're not, you're missing a trick. So our key takeaways there. First of all, go ask your team. They've probably got some brilliant ideas on how they can work better as a team and protect that knowledge sharing. And then the 4 points that are up on the screen in front of you at the moment as well. If you want to, you might want to do a very quick print screen on this. So control print screen and paste that into a blank document anywhere. Again, you will have the opportunity to look at this when it goes live on YouTube as well. But these are just some very, very quick tips. I'm deliberately speaking to give you an opportunity to do that print screen before I move to the next section. Okay, hopefully you've got that in a Word document or slide deck. You don't have to, it's just a nice, quick, easy way to do this. Let's move on to our next piece. It's one that you may not have thought was going to be relevant on here, but actually, again, it's a really powerful way to give people direction when you are not standing right next to them. And it's all about career development. I wonder how many of you are having good career development conversations with your staff. I wonder how many of you are doing this just during your appraisal time. So first of all, let's just explore a couple of quick elements. We're going to do a quick experiment or survey. And again, I'd really like you to share in the chat box your thoughts here. So I would like you to imagine two scenarios, please. In the first scenario, you're working from home. You have a clear idea of this year's targets, but you're not sure about what happens after that. And all of a sudden, your boss isn't there. They go on maternity leave for a long period of time. They have an accident that takes them out. They're suddenly seconded to a big project. It's a really important project, and they don't have time to be close to you. So suddenly, you're on your own for a bit. So you have a clear idea of this year's targets, but you're not sure about what happens after that. Now compare it to this one. You have a clear idea of this year's targets. You've also previously sat down with your line manager or mentor, and you have a clear idea of the next 3 key steps that you want to take to progress your career over the next 2 years. Which situation would you rather be in? In which situation will you perform best? Thanks, Melanie. Lovely, excellent. Yeah, let's just have a quick thing. I thought of doing this as a poll, and I thought we don't need to on this. We'll just get, yeah, okay, say 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2. Yeah, absolutely. And what's good for you is also good for your people. They will perform better in scenario 2. So career development. One from Jantha. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Not everyone is the same. It's not a problem. Maybe you don't want to think about the future and just focus on the target immediately in front of you. That's okay. But for the majority of people, they will, as Victoria has said there, perform better in scenario 2. And by the way, Jantha, thank you for sharing with us option 1, because it's nice when we have some diversity of opinion, definitely. Always a good thing. So what's good for you is probably good for your people as well. In fact, there's a flip side to this, which is the negative side. So in our last session, I also shared this slide. Reasons that people leave companies. And you can see at the bottom there where I've taken this from. And also this is survey data across all working ages and industries as well. So just to share with this, 11% of the people stated that they left their company because of their last manager, 12% because of a better life balance, and that included, by the way, reducing commute times. However, an overwhelming, it was the single highest reason stated, the reason that good people left their last job, there we go, lack of career development. So if you want to retain your talent, or more accurately, if you want to retain your hardworking, intelligent, critical human beings in your team, you need to sit down and map out a career path for them. And I can tell you, having done some separate projects around retention of particular areas within the workforce, as soon as you start to look at under 35-year-olds, as soon as you start to look at people who are likely to take a career break, that figure skyrockets up and goes way, way higher than 22%. So having a clear career development path or conversation with someone can really start to reduce that loss of good talent from an organization. And I think every time I look at this, I'm always reminded of the classic Richard Branson quote. So I don't know whether you like Richard Branson or dislike him. I'm sure, however, you'd find it difficult to disagree with. It's lovely, isn't it? It really is good. You keep training your people up, you keep giving them the skills, you keep giving them the development, and you make sure that they don't want to leave because they know you are the boss, excuse my language, that gives a damn about them. Now, occasionally when I run leadership seminars and leadership groups, I'm asked, yes, but Nick, if you train your people up, even if they love you, they will eventually leave. Yes, that's right. They will. Don't be afraid of it. Because if you're the person that's trained them up and supported them, they will give you lots of advance notice when they're going to leave. So you can look after your talent pipeline. You can say to them, because you'll know in advance by 6 months, I fully support your progression. I hope it's within this organization, but if it's in an outside organization, that's okay. Can you help me identify who should take your role? And can you help me train them up? And we're protecting our talent pipeline. We're not suddenly left with a big gap. And that's the person that also comes back to you in 3 years' time as well, because you were the best boss to work for. So never be afraid to develop and train up your people as much as possible. You can't always be there. You cannot always be beside them. That's part of the problems of working with long-term virtual teams or geographically distant teams or teams that are split in how they're coming into the office. You can't be that person standing beside them all the time. Can really, really help them. Okay, once again, I need to give you some quick tips. If you are in HR or L&D, you're going to know this. You're definitely going to know this. If, however, you're not, then maybe some of this might be new to you. These are the core elements of good career development conversation. So, a good career development conversation is an aspirational focus. When you sit down and do your appraisals, a lot of the time it's about the past. My advice is an appraisal isn't about the past. It's about the future, but informed by the past. So yes, we might have to discuss the past, and the past might also indicate bonus and payments and things like that. But the focus of an appraisal should always be how we need to develop to be fit for the future. And if you're having a good career development conversation, then you're actually engaging your staff member in terms of why they need to be fit for the future. It's not about just because you need to tell them that they should do this. It's actually if they want to progress here, if they want to learn that new technology, embrace that new project or client group or whatever it may be, then this is how they'll do it. This is the development path for doing that. It shouldn't, however, just be about appraisals. And I think this is probably one of the biggest mistakes I see with busy managers. They'll sit down at appraisal time, have a really good career development conversation, and then it's not touched for another 6 months or another year. So this should be an ongoing thing. There are formal times to do it, and there are informal times to do it as well. And I personally would suggest a quick 5 minutes once a week with nearly everyone. Now, if you are running a virtual team, you're probably checking in with them at least once a week anyway, hopefully. It's a great thing. What have you learned this week that's going to help you with your 2-year plan or something like that? And again, if we think about the previous slide I showed you, this just gives them that direction for when you may not be standing right next to them and able to hold their hand. Our next one, these things, sorry, Russell has just shared, walking one-to-ones over the phone, help people escape the virtual. Yeah, good point, Russell. Absolutely. I really like that. Go do a one-to-one while you're walking through a forest or through the park or through the city or wherever you can. Absolutely. It's a really good thing to do. It just takes them out of that normal virtual setup that can be a little bit intense. Good observation. Thank you for sharing, Russell. Make sure they're never vague. It says that it should be conditional. By that, it means that your staff members should have a clear idea that if they achieve X, then it will unlock Y as an opportunity for them. Now, those conditions are more important than timescales. Often we say, okay, well, if you do this in 1 year's time, we'll look at that. No, no, no. This isn't about timescales and amount of time in service. This is about capability. It's about competence and achievement. So link a result with a condition that must be met. So conditional doesn't mean a negative thing, it's a very positive thing. And if you have that, then it can be clearly measurable And that also means we can be honest and trusted. And I thought of putting an underline under the word trusted, because one of the worst things you can do is promise someone development, have them work hard towards it, then change the goalposts. That's the point where you kill motivation, because then they've worked really hard and suddenly they've found that they can't trust you. Why would they listen to you in the future? Always make sure if you say you're going to do something around a development point, you better darn well do it. If for some reason you can't, you need to be able to justify that and explain that very clearly. And by the way, as soon as possible as well. Our fourth element, always focus on the why. Again, anyone who's seen the Simon Sinek videos or was paying attention to the first quarter of this WebEx knows that the why, the purpose, is really important. So it's not just what you're going to do in order to, or what they are going to do in order to progress their career. It's why each element is important. Why they need to learn that to use that particular software package, why they need to learn how to present in front of a large group, why they need to learn how to look after a cost center or something like that. It's not just this is what's required to do this job. It's always, and this is how it helps. This is the why this is required to do that job. And our last element, two-way conversation. This is not you saying, I have mapped out this path for you, because then it could very much be the wrong path. So where possible, we ask people to bring their ideas to the table. So, Claudia, you've just asked, what is appraisal time? So this is just a formal time where we're going to sit down and have a review of how the last year's targets or objectives have gone, how they've been met, possibly how they were met as well, linked in with behaviors, and also what the next year's targets or focus are going to be as well. Google appraisal, go speak to anyone in your HR teams and you should get some good stuff around that as well. And I have to say, if you're not aware of this is going to help you loads. Anyone not familiar with what an appraisal is, definitely go educate yourself around this, because it's a game changer for helping your staff and keeping them on track and keeping an organization following as well. Okay, you repeated that statement, so I don't know whether you're just making a point of we don't have time to do this. I'll leave that one with you. And as always, I'll be hanging around at the end of this session to answer any additional questions as well. Give a little bit more guidance around these points. Okay, so I'm going to move on to our last section of this session now, and it's that balance between how do I keep a track of the visibility of what people are doing? How can I monitor and control it all? But at the same time, allow them a level of autonomy as well. I don't want to be a micromanager, but equally, I don't want to be too laissez-faire. I don't want to be too freewheeling on this. What is the right answer here? And it's an interesting one, because we often find people fall into trends or habits with this, with either being a micromanager with everyone because they needed to be with a few people, or being really laissez-faire with everyone. And I'm like, no, it's okay, I trust you, get on with it. And actually, some people need a bit more direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a lovely tool called the Progressive Leadership Model. And highlights of this, again, are on the handout that we've created for you, because we've had feedback that this is a really, really nice practical tool. The first thing you do is you think about your team and you think about what stage they might be in. So stage one is that they don't really know anything. They might be very new to the team or the project. They might be individually very intelligent, but they are not competent in the function you need them to be competent in. So they could, they can have an IQ of 150, but if they don't know how to do the job that you are employing them to do, we view them as being in stage one at the moment. Stage 2, okay, they're starting to get a good basic understanding of what they need to do, but they still need a lot of help and support at this point. So we put in there some experience in the role or task, and I'm sure you're getting the idea here and how this flows through. Stage 3, actually, they're pretty good. They've got a good understanding of what they need to do. They can be quite well trusted. They're not an expert yet, but they're experienced. They have competency. Stage 4, they can probably do that particular function better than you can. So maybe they're becoming the subject matter expert, and on the basis that you're now the manager and you're probably not doing that particular function, we can trust them to do it even more. And with each stage, there is a different way to manage the individual. And basically, it's ranging from the extreme control, so the micromanage, through to the complete autonomy or the laissez-faire approach as well. So let's run through how you should approach each of these 4 stages quite quickly. And again, this particular image that's up on the screen at the moment is in the handout for you. So stage 1, we need that autocratic micromanaging start. You need what we call high tell, low ask, because you know what? They don't know what they're doing yet. So they need you to be very, very explicit and clear in your instructions. And they do need you to monitor what is going on so you can give constant feedback and look at where they need training next. And that's okay. That is not bad. If you are micromanaging someone in stage 1, it does not make you a bad manager. In fact, it makes you a good manager. Clear, tight control. Now, as they get better, that's where we start to step back a little bit. And in stage 2, we have a little bit more of what we call this discussive style. So you're still giving them lots of instruction, but you're also now posing lots of questions to them. Okay, I want you to do X, and you do X in this manner. We do A, B, then C, and D. But then we might also follow it up with questions. Where can you find the information for A? That's right, excellent, brilliant. And what about for B? So now we're starting to have a bit more of a two-way discussion that starts to get them thinking a bit more, starts to get them a little bit more engaged and having a growth mindset and a problem-solving mindset. As their level of competence increases, we start to step back even more. So in stage 3, we start to use much more of what we refer to as a coaching style. So actually it's very low tell, very high ask. Here we might say, John, are you okay to get on with this? I'm all right just to leave it with you. Brilliant, excellent. Okay, so here's the deadline. By the way, before I let you go, what do you think is the #1 challenge around this project? So can you hear, I'm still helping and supporting, but I'm doing it in a coaching way. I'm just getting that individual to think about certain elements because they're not an expert yet, but they are very competent. Stage 4, we step back completely because by now the individual absolutely knows what they're doing. So we call this a partnering style. It's sometimes also called the consultative style. So you're treating that individual team member like they were a professional consultant within your team. In this case, we might say, John, can you have a look at this and make suggestions? And here you're posing a problem or a project remit to them or a case study, and you are simply relying on their expertise. And about the only condition you might set here is when you need the answer by and how you want the answer. So could you put this in a 1-page report for me? Can you give me a 1-liner? Can you be prepared to make a full presentation to the board or something like that? So the progressive leadership model says that as our individual team members' competency progresses, so too does our leadership style. And there's a nice little diagram that kind of explains what's going on here. So you can see on the bottom there, we have knowledge, skills, and confidence, i.e. competency. The axis, the vertical axis, is the level of control. So at the bottom in red, we have maximum control. I'm keeping an eye on everything you do. At the top in blue, we have maximum freedom. And you can see that as an individual's competency increases, we slowly release our control more and more and more and more. Lovely. Now, what's in front of you right now is a stylized graph. The reality is far messier. In actual fact, what normally happens is we give control, seize control. It's not some clear, perfect linear path. It is a messy, scruffy line. And just look at these two elements here. What happened here? Well, here is where we gave too much freedom and the individual made a big mistake, at which point we reined in the freedom. We realized they weren't quite as good as we thought they were, and that's okay. That's not an insult. It's an observation. And here we think, okay, I didn't give enough support in this situation. I didn't give enough direction. And so we kind of rein back a little bit before slowly starting up that curve again. So that's the reality of what happens. Now, the final point to make around the progressive leadership model when looking at how much to control or give autonomy to staff is the idea that for any job role or function, there are actually multiple competencies. So you may find that an individual can be in different levels or stages at any one time. Perhaps they're in what we call stage 4, that's the lightest blue on this little spiral, for a few elements of their task. Because they're really good at that, and because of the career development plan that you've set down with them, you now want to challenge them to do a new type of task connected with their job role. Perhaps they're brilliant at the financial reporting. Now you want them to present that financial report to the board. Listen to how I change the stages or levels that I'm talking at as I delegate to an imaginary member of staff. I'm going to pretend I'm delegating to someone called Victoria, and Victoria is really, really good at her job, but I'm going to introduce some new elements to her. I might say, Victoria, could you create an initial scoping document around what we captured with the client today? I'll just leave it with you. We're going to be doing a review by Thursday, so let me know if it's good to do it by then or if you need extra time. I trust you doing that. By the way, one of the things that we're going to be doing with this is using this as a case sample for the board on the kind of work that we do. So once you've done that, I am then going to sit down and take you through our standard structure for presenting to the board, the kind of things that we do, the slide deck format that we use, and how long this kind of stuff works. And just check you're comfortable with presenting, because actually what I'd really like you to do is to do that presentation with me initially, and ultimately be happy to take it on yourself as part of that career development cycle. So hopefully you would have heard there that, first of all, I was basically treating Victoria as a professional consultant. Can you prepare this scoping document based around what we initially captured with the client? And I completely trust you to do that. You're stage 4 to do that. Presenting to the board, you're going to be stage 1 because you've never done that before. So there, I'm going to give you lots and lots of support and training. And I'll leave you with a final thought on this particular model. One of the big mistakes that happens with management is you individually on this virtual WebEx right now are at stage 4. And that's why you got promoted. And then suddenly we feel we can't say to anyone else, hey, you promoted me, but you give me a whole load of new tasks, and I'm in stage 1 for these people. Please, can you train me or help me? And this is why people get promoted to positions of incompetence, i.e. promoted to the point where they can't do their job because they're not given training to the new job. So some personal advice: never be afraid to say, this is new to me, please will you help? Okay, lovely people, we've come towards the end of our time, come towards the end of the virtual session. I'm going to do a quick summary for you, and I'm also going to try and give you 2 key takeaways, because as always, we have covered a lot, and it's useful if I can give you just 2 key big takeaways. First of all, here has what we have covered. We have looked at the importance of clarity with a vision, mission, and also brand and purpose, and how these things can really help drive productivity, engagement, resilience. They can help someone stay smart and focused when you are not standing next to them holding their hand. It's a win-win-win for everyone. The organization benefits, you benefit, they benefit. And one of the other links that we're going to send you, video links, is to something called Intent-Based Leadership by David Marquette. It is a delightful 9-minute video with some really strong points where he is saying, give people a clear idea of what you are trying to achieve. Then give them the skills to do it. And when you do that, you can step back. The next thing we looked at is some techniques for enabling knowledge sharing to continue and also sense of team. And of course, the big learn there was your team probably has some pretty good ideas already. Go ask them. But if not, we gave you some good practical outcomes there. The importance and value of career development as a path to general improvement, motivation, focus, resilience, and all those lovely things. And finally, recognition that it is difficult to balance this idea of managing what is happening and giving autonomy, and the progressive leadership model that can help you identify what level you should be doing with each person. And guys, that should be a two-way conversation as well. Share the progressive leadership model with your people. Ask them what stage they are thinking they are at. And by the way, it also makes a lovely, lovely tool for good appraisal conversations. So that's everything we've covered. I'm going to leave you with two final takeaways. My advice would be, if you're only going to take two things from this, let it be this. Okay, you lovely people. With that in mind, I've come to 4 minutes past the hour, so I need to let you go.